In part 2, I performed a continuity test on the mirror switch and determined that it was good. The next thing I want to test is this switch harness. And this travels down through the door, through this conduit, under the dash to the power mirror ECU, connector B. So there's essentially a one-to-one connection between the 6 wires on this connector and the 6 wires on connector B for the ECU. So that'll be the next test, continuity testing all the wires. In order to test this wire harness for the mirror switch, I have to pull the connector B off of the mirror ECU. And that's okay because on page VE 188, you can see the test requires us to have both connectors A and B removed from the ECU. So I'm going to go ahead and climb under and do that right now. Here's the power mirror ECU up under the dash. There's connector A, there's connector B. B is fairly easy to get off because it has fewer terminals. All you do is push in the release tab, wiggle the connector, and out it comes. Now, connector A is a little trickier because it has more terminals, so I like to use a hooking tool like this. And there are little ridges along the sides of this connector that you can hook onto to assist when you're pulling this thing down. I'm going to try to hold in the release tab with one hand and then hook those ridges with the other. I'll walk my way back and forth. Don't try to pull it out all at once. You got to get each side to move a little bit at a time. Let's switch hands, maybe. Yeah, that feels like I released it better. All right, pull on this side a little. Yeah, it moved. Pull on this side. Yeah, it's coming. Just gotta be patient. There we go. For this continuity test, I'm going to be working with this connector B. A couple things to note. On the diagram that's provided, connector B is being viewed from the wire side of the harness, the connector. In other words, this back side. So that means if we're looking for terminal 1, for instance, in the upper right corner of the connector, that means it's this pink wire up here. Turn on this multimeter to continuity. And I'm going to use this probe and access the terminals from the back side. One reason for that is if you jam this probe into the terminal socket, you can damage that terminal. It's a lot safer to go in from the back side because you're just kind of squeezing in next to the connector, or next to the terminal, sorry, and touching it that way. So there's B1, and the schematic says B1 from the ECU connector goes to terminal 8 on the switch. So I'm taking my negative probe, coming over to the switch, and I know here this pink wire is 8, and we have continuity. Let's move the probe over across from 1 to this green wire in my case. That's B2. And the schematic says B2 goes to 10 on the switch. The pink wire was 8, that green wire is 9, and this green wire is 10. B3 should go down to 12 on the switch. And 12 is this gray wire down in the lower left corner. Going down the line to B4. B4 goes to 9. So 8 was a pink wire. This first green wire is 9. Continuity. Moving from B4 to B5. B5 goes to terminal 2. Terminal 2 is this yellow wire to the right. And the final port is B6, which goes to terminal 3. Terminal 3 is this other yellow wire up on the top row. All right, so that means we got a good wire harness. And it also means we can move on to the mirror motor tests. We'll tackle that in the next video. Keep watching to find out what happens.